You know, Reebok always had a special place in Kiernan's heart. It came natural to him.
You know, he grew up with Reebok. If you think back to the 90s, early 2000s, when Reebok was really strong in South Africa and globally. As a kid, his first pair of sneakers was a pair of Reeboks.
We had these things called lace biters because they couldn't tie their laces and you had to put this on. And he had these bright orange laces.
These bright orange laces. He was at high school already. I went away, I needed some work to be done. I asked him, can you do this for me? And I'll pay you. And sure enough, he did the work. And then he bought himself a pair of Reeboks.
Kiernan has spoken about having his own shoe since he was very young. I mean, he's always wanted to have his own sneaker.
His name on the shoe.
Yeah, his name on the shoe.
I want my name on a shoe, that's where it should be going, Scoop. And I thought, I don't know if that's too ambitious, this guy's crazy, that will never happen.
Well, here we are. So he had a love for the brand, and it was an organic love. It wasn't sort of contrived, and I think that was what authenticated the partnership. And traditionally, Reebok has always aligned itself to hip-hop. And for me, it was, almost instant. You know, his name came to mind almost immediately. He was arguably the hottest hip-hop artist on the continent. And I think very much aligned to the Reebok brand values in terms of that irreverence and his desire to challenge the status quo and do things differently, that big personality that the brand needed at that time.
So when the collab came, it felt like it was a perfect fit. It didn't feel like work. It didn't feel like, oh, I gotta do some representation or some work for a brand. It came natural. I think we were still working on the album, Touch My Blood, and he was just like, yo, we're trying to cook something with Reebok. I never expected it to develop to what it became. One thing about Kiernan was that he always valued first impressions. So your first impression is always like setting you up for what you're gonna do next. So the first phase of it was always like, I'm gonna do great in this. It was like, let's go all out in this.
We got hold of him via Instagram and we flew up to meet with him in Sandton at the Capitol. It was in that very first meeting that he spoke about a sneaker collaboration. And we loved his ambition.
When the conversation was starting with Reebok, I was his creative director and his stylist at the time. So when, you know, the conversation started happening, the first thing that we had a conversation about was him having his own signature sneaker with Reebok. That was like first on the table, you know, not knowing that it would happen a couple of years later. And, you know, the whole team started wearing Reebok and everybody started wearing Reebok around us, our friends, our families.
Reebok was all we wore, literally, from shows to when we go out to where studio. Reebok is all we wore.
Just break down, we got the Reebok, head to toe Reebok. It's Reebok, that's Reebok, everything Reebok. You know what I'm talking about? Cause we the Reebok boys.
When the collab came up, it was like, for Kiernan, it was like an expression. It was like a certain part of himself that he could actually bring out. Literally, if you looked at his closet, I mean, in Kiernan's house, the closets were so huge. He took all of the other brands, he put them in the other room, and then he kept all of the Reebok in his main room.
It was a great initiative from him to take this brand and, you know, put it together with his brand to create something that is new. And already Reebok had history with, you know, musicians in South Africa, and he wanted to take from that and take it to another level, you know. And I think that's what he did.
He really made Reebok cool again in the eyes of the legacy.